time to paint these trees. And since this is the light side of the tree, that's what I'm going to start out with. Of course, it will not be a solid light or solid darks, but we're going to attempt to put this little tree in. And we're going to allow the limbs to cross or intermingle. That's how they grow in the real world. And the reason we do this tree first is because this tree will overlap that one. And that's how it will be configured. Of course, we'll put some leaves, some small twigs in here that will make the trees look more realistic. So we'll take the same color approximately and paint this side of this tree, and he will become even larger since he's closer to us. Mix a little bit of white in here so we can get more contrast. We're not getting enough light on the light side of the tree to make it show up. Look what a difference it makes. Okay. Okay, a little bit of white, same brown. You know that when you start putting the leaves on, those limbs and leaves will cast shadows. So there will be no solid colors here. They will have patches of shadows. And when you look outside at the trees, just pay attention. It's amazing what you can finally start learning from nature. These limbs will grow anywhere they want to. That color's a little dark. So I'll skip down to the other browns. Intermingle them a little bit. You notice that the limbs at the top of a tree are reaching towards the heavens and the sky, and then they start fanning out a little bit. And each one has, as I like to call them, elbows, turns. As you start to make a limb, then you start in this direction, then you take a turn as if you were driving down the street. It's not a straight limb, not at all. So they can get very interesting, and you can make them very interesting. And the limbs we like the shape of them real well. We will play it up and we'll show them. The ones that are just not quite up to it, we'll put more leaves on. That's how you can pick and choose. So now we're going to darken some of these. On the right side and on the bottom. This limb right here needs to connect with this one. So that's what we're going to do. Actually, it will connect with this one. My mistake. not a lot of detail we're going to put into this, but we do want to show you the shadows and the lights, which way the light is coming from. It's very important. We'll go back in here and put some leaves on both these trees. Okay, we have earlier worked with the ground cover, and I still want to come back in here with some lighter colors and working from a different direction, which is a lot better, I found out today, to change the camera and then continue to work with this. And of course, when something's too dark, you lighten it with white or yellow or both. I have a gray color here that seems to want to stay with me, and I don't want gray, so we're going to put a little yellow and red in there and make it a better color. Matter of fact, I have several different colors of brown here on my little palette. So we have like a beige brown, a reddish brown. This will be gray. It'll require a little bit of red though, so it won't turn to green. And when you put this in white, then of course it's gray. If it's too green, you add some more red. It makes a nice gray. We can use this color for rocks or for the ground. Many different things. Okay. And since we're not going to need a lot of paint, I'm not going to mix a large palette. That's why I'm using these smaller ones. Okay, right in here, where these ruts are, it's bothering me a little bit because I think we have them so look like they're so deep. And the dark is so dark that I'm going to kind of go in there a little bit and make a little bit of a change. So that it looks like it's such a deep crevice in there. We want some of the shadows to show, but it's just too dark. So we're going to dab a little color in here and lighten that up, not to have it so dramatic. So then I will pick up another little color. It is dark, but not as dark as this, and go back over it. I had that almost black, and I have to remember that acrylics do dry darker. So when I put a color in here, I must understand, I must remember, see that they will dry darker. Now I believe that looks better. If you compare this to this rut, it shows up enough. If I change the color, we don't have to have this dark. So that's why I decided to come back in here and go back over this color a little bit, just to kind of push the details back a little bit. Okay. Also, on this little the side of the road right here, excuse me, on the side of the road right here, you will see that there's a wash right through here, where it looks like there goes that chihuahua again. She's making a noise. She likes to stir up things. So dramatic. Right in here where we have this, I'm going to have this washed out up in the ground here. And this can be a little bit more dramatic here because that's where the erosion was when it rains so much. And you see it's kind of like a shelf right here. and then it drops off down to where the road is, and this is up on a hill, kind of a hill right here. This is higher than the right side of the painting. So what I want to do is go in here and get some light beige colors and finish what I started right in here. I think some of my colors are just still too dark, so we're going to lighten them up using various colors of beige and browns, and some I guess you would call it gray. If you kind of start in the back and you start kind of a zigzag pattern, as you get forward, the shape that you're using will get broader, and that brings you into the painting. If you see if you can see that, because there are shadows, like I said earlier, shadows, holes in the ground. It's not, the light's not going to hit the ground perfectly the same all over. So here we have, these could be rocks or whatever. I'm just going to throw in some colors. Just for interest. Okay. Now let's remember, when it gets dry, it's going to be darker. So I'm going to introduce some more white and some of these beige colors, and introduce this into the painting a little bit more, because I know it'll dry darker. Then when the water evaporates out of the paint, the pigments are left behind, and it just looks darker. If you notice in the background, there's less so much detail of everything, but we've got to give it credit for being there, so we have to put some colors and introduce the colors to the background. And one thing we haven't talked about is that where the trees are growing, there's going to be shadows on the ground. So if there's mostly dirt back in there, there could be a darker ground color. It would be along in here. I believe it would be darker than that. Again, we're adding more red and blue just to make it darker. To have control, you need to wipe your brush occasionally. And then tonight will be our last lesson on this until I complete it. I will take a photograph and explain what I've done. Okay, so now that we're introducing the shadows of the trees in various places, I'm going to go ahead and put a shadow by this tree, and it will be leaning kind of back in this area. So the shadow is darker right by the tree, right by the object, and then as it goes out from there, it's not quite as dark. So I'll take some of the paint off. It look like my colors are a little bit different on this side, so because I introduced some red to make the brown, I didn't get enough yellow in there to counteract that red. So now I've got to change the other side of this one, and I'd rather change this one because I really did get too much red in here. It looks a little bit like a mesquite tree, could be, or maybe an oak tree. Well, hello, baby girl. My little chihuahua came up to speak to me. She can't figure out why I'm so not paying much attention to her tonight. She might be a little spoiled. So I'll take a break here and try to finish this tomorrow. Just a little bit. I'll take a break. Baby girl needs some attention. She's very appropriately named because she is such a baby.
Boy, it takes a lot for you, don't you? Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll finish this up tomorrow.